Hello friends, welcome to Civilspedia. In this edition, we are going to see the current affairs related to 17th July 2018. And as usual, we have two set of topics. One is editorial topic and another is prelims focus topics. In editorial topic, we are going to discuss about the net neutrality, the recent telecom policy related to net neutrality and the legality of section 377. And in the prelims topic, we are going to see three topics. One is golden jackal, about the Harrier birds and the Formalin fish controversy. Coming to the first topic of the day, it is about the golden jackal. So yesterday there was an article related to golden jackal in the Hindu, and what are things you got to focus on. So since it is a least concern, like okay, first of all, this is an criteria or ranking given by the IUCN, okay, ranging from least concern to extinct. Okay, so since golden jackal falls in the least concern, even we should be least concerned about with respect to prelims perspective, but we can write these aspects in mains also. I'll tell you like how. Okay. Coming to the factual information related to jackal. Okay, so basically this is also called as Asiatic jackal or the common jackal. So the habitat is normally in the pastoral areas, especially in Kutch, Maharashtra, Rajasthan and Haryana. But the article related to that was in Hindu. It was focusing on an area which is in the Andhra Pradesh actually. Okay, so but the major focus area which is normally belong to the golden jackals is the this Velavada National Park, which is in again Gujarat. And the habitat, as I already said, like recently the focus is on Bandar Reserve Forest in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so you need not by heart the reserve forest and all. Okay, reserve forest is least important. The only things you got to by heart the national parks and tiger reserves first most, and sometimes to an extent you can by heart the important wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, these reserve forests is not much important. Okay, but here it is what you got to know the adaptability. The habitat is related to the dry habitats and it is a omnivorous diet. Okay, here the article was about like how this mangrove forest and the destruction of mangrove forest has affected the golden jackal's habitat actually. And one more thing you got to focus is about the protection given to golden jackal. So initially what we saw is the protection given by the IUCN, but right now we are going to see the protection given under the Wildlife Protection Act. As you already know, like most of the questions in UPSC last few years, they're asking the questions especially from the schedule 1. Okay, so those endangered species. Now since this falls under schedule 3, okay, schedule 3 means like not much of an importance compared to schedule 1 actually. Okay, so meaning what, like it is given only protection because of the trade of pelts and tails actually, and here it is hunting is not permitted. Okay, I'll tell you exactly like what exactly this schedule is all about. Okay, this schedule 1 and 2, it means that no hunting, it has an absolute protection with the highest penalties, and schedule 3 and schedule 4, okay, compared to 1 and 2, it has a much lower protection. And if it is schedule 5, you should come across some word called vermins. Okay, so if it is a vermin which is kept in the schedule 5, it has it can be hunted. Okay, and last is about schedule 6, which speaks about the plants actually. Okay, like plants such as sandalwood or some other things which has some sort of a prohibition in cultivation and planting. Now, so this was a news for two reasons. One is about the destruction of habitat in mangrove forest in Andhra Pradesh, and another is recently the Bengal Airport Authority, the Bengal Airport authorities, they requested the Government of India's Environment Department. They asked to keep this under schedule 5 actually, because like there was too much of menace of this golden jackal within the premises of the West Bengal Kolkata airport actually. Okay, so this was a news for two reasons. You got to go for that. And next is about the Harrier bird. Again, this was in news. There was an article related to this Harrier bird actually. So you did not remember these all names, scientific names and all those types of Harrier birds and all. But coming to the habitat actually, so this is as far as the IUCN is concerned, it has moved from least concern to kind of critical concern. And here you got to know the habitat actually. So this is a kind of a migratory bird which has its roots or in Central Asia, and during the winter it flies from Central Asia towards the southern part of hemisphere, and on the way it passes India also. All right. So with respect to this Harrier bird, it is called as a raptor. So what is raptor? This you will come across in news so often, raptors. So even you might have seen these words like hawks, eagles, vultures and falcons. Falcons also in news so much in related to Nagaland actually. So even falcons are we had a problem with falcons because people in Nagaland, they used to hunt these falcons. So as far as this hawks and eagles, like we have a different sort of varieties, but I mean different species and all, but we not focus about that. So, but what is raptor? Raptor is someone like a kind of a bird which grabs or seizes or carries its prey actually. So that is called as a raptor actually. So it is called as a bird of prey. Okay. And what about the protection here? So again, this was an article like which had a kind of research over this Harrier bird. Here the protection, there is a problem within this. What is the problem? The problem is because of these features. Basically, this Harrier bird, the habitat is the grasslands. Okay. But here the grasslands are affected because of urbanization. One is because of agriculture. The the grasslands are turned into agricultural lands, and especially it is used for grazing. So overgrazing is another problem, and also the birding of grasslands normally. So wherever you find this great Indian bustard, so wherever you could find this bustard sanctuary, you could find the Harrier birds as well. Okay, and coming to the third topic of the day, that is the formalin in fish. This formalin thing is already new. It is already news for almost for 2 weeks. So what exactly it is? This formalin is derived from formaldehyde, which is supposed to be a carcinogen, that is a cancer causing agent, and this is kind of used as an anti-decomposition to prevent that decomposition of an object. And where it is used normally, this is actually the characteristics of it is a colorless flammable chemical. It is normally used in the wood products, fabrics or insulation materials as an anti-decomposition agent. In addition to that, like normally it is used in mortuaries, but here it is the concern. Though it can be said it is used for increasing the shelf life of fresh foods, especially for the fishermen, like who has to keep the fish fresh for a longer time. So this is kind of an indispensable to that. But on the other hand, it has so much of side effects. Now, what exactly why this problem with the fish alone? Okay, so normally fish, as you already know, once it is caught, once it is harvested, like it is a highly perishable commodity. And as you already know, that we don't have a proper food processing industry in India. So now this is being a highly perishable commodity. If it is not maintained at a temperature around 5 degrees Celsius, then it will be spoiled. Now it will be rotten fish. Now that's the reason why, like once it is caught at the point of sale, if the point of sale is far from the market, okay, what they used to do, they used to keep this formalin as a preservative with the fish. Okay, so in addition to formalin, like ammonia is also used. Actually, ammonia is mixed with the water to keep it as a frozen unit actually. Now, what is the concern? Okay, we said about the advantage of using formalin, but what is the concern here? The concern here is that like it causes more damages, more short term as well as long term. What is the short term damages? It causes nausea, wheezing, and all those like skin irritations, all those things and all. And at the same time, it increases the leukemia and blood cancers, all related to blood also. Okay, and even the international agencies like and national agencies like US FDA, they have classified this as a human carcinogen. Carcinogen is something like which causes cancer. Like, okay, now what is the impact? Like we saw the health impacts, we saw the benefits. Now what is the impact? The negative. This is the negative impact. So what is fish famine? So because of this problem of formalin, and people are like they have a hesitancy towards buying the fish, eating a fish. Okay, so that impacts the market of fish, and that impacts indirectly the livelihood of the fisherman. Okay, this is not something new. The problem with formalin is not something new, but this happens. This carries more weightage because at a time where already the farmers, the fishermen are already having a problem with respect to pollution. You know, the sea waters and the inland waters are getting polluted, so that affects the fish productivity, and already there is because of the demand in export and the hospitality sector, especially in the tourism oriented areas like Kerala, like Goa, this is a staple food, and you know, fish is the most consumed food as far as this tourism oriented states are concerned. So that again, it impacts the fishing. And lastly, about the rising sea temperatures, again that impacts the fish productivity and all those things and all. Fine. So this is the reason why we say like fish famine is on the lines normally. Okay, coming to the editorial topic of the day, that is about the net neutrality. Okay, so what this net neutrality, why we are studying this net neutrality right now? Though this has been used almost for 4-5 years, recently it was because of the telecom communications telecom communication of India, they have approved a net neutrality rules under the new telecom policy, which says that internet will remain open to everybody in the country. Okay, so what is this telecom commission? Telecom commission is the highest decision making body under the Department of Telecommunication. As far as the regulatory body is concerned, it is the TRAI, okay, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Now, so what exactly is net neutrality? Today, we are all using like WhatsApp and Facebook, Skype and all. Okay, so imagine what if, like, if Airtel or Jio, they charge you for using an Skype, they charge you for using a WhatsApp call. How will you feel? That's a problem. Okay, now we'll coming to net neutrality. These are the focus points you got to keep it. Okay, so what exactly is net neutrality means? All the sites, every site must be equally accessible, and it has to access the same access speed, and all the cost has to be same. Okay, for instance, yesterday and today we are having an deal in Amazon Prime. We have a lot of many deals. Okay, for instance, like take a scenario wherein a person who is having an internet, like, okay, so if at all MI starts selling all those phone at one point of time in both Flipkart and Amazon. Okay, now the thing is that, like, if at all there is an pact between Airtel and Amazon, that, like, okay, Amazon will be given priority to access with respect to ISP. What is called as ISP? Internet service providers. Okay, if the ISP Airtel is giving some priority to Amazon over Flipkart, then all the people will start using Amazon rather than Flipkart. Okay, now this will impact the market of Flipkart because of the nexus between Airtel and Amazon. Okay, now on, then the market will be down for Flipkart. So now this is the reason why they said we should to give same access speed and equal accessibility and same data cost also. See, in 2014, I guess already you people know. If you don't know, like, you know that, like, it was, you know, about something called VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol, and there is another thing called as over the top apps, actually. Okay, so the major revenue of Airtel and all those internet service providers was generally, the telecom company was firstly about the internet charges. You know that, like, you must remember, almost like 3-4 years back we had a data of 1 GB for 250 rupees now. Okay, but this revenue started decreasing when the amount of calls made. Okay, the amount of calls made by the Airtel, they don't make it via the voice. They made it through Skype, they made it through WhatsApp, they made it through Facebook. So it impacted the revenue of the telecom companies, and that is the reason why they thought of charging for the calls. Okay, but thankfully it was stopped because of a movement. Okay, so what exactly the problem I said, like, no, so there are two concepts you got to remember with respect to net neutrality. One is about the Airtel Zero concept, and another is about the free basics. Okay, so what is this Airtel Zero? Airtel Zero is all about the over the top apps, actually. Okay, so here Airtel Zero, what is meaning? Like, it is called a zero rating also. Now what is it actually? So you can browse some mobile apps free of cost. Okay, for instance, like, you must have heard about some messages in your Airtel. What is it? Recharge for 49, you'll have a month free of unlimited Facebook. So meaning what? Facebook, it wants to promote, it wants to compete with Twitter. That time it was Orkut, actually. So it wants to contest with all other social medias. So in order to have a better access, it sought the help of the largest ISP in India that time, Airtel. And they said, like, I'll give you some sort of money. What you can do, in the sense, you give unlimited access to that. Like, for 49 rupees, if Facebook is given free, yes, definitely it was. No, you might have, see, the way Facebook was in 2007, now this 10-year growth is so enormous. You know, there was something called as an Orkut. There was a forum called Orkut. It is completely shut down of Google. Okay, so now the reason being is that, like, because of the net neutrality concept, which was again taken away by this Airtel. Okay, now next, coming to this Airtel Zero concept, I already said, like, okay, this mobile app makers like Amazon or the Facebook, they'll give some sort of free access to their apps. Okay, and they inform the customers about the free apps. They'll promote indirectly to use it. Okay, in such a way, what will happen? Because of this zero data charges and all those things and all, it will indirectly impact. Okay, people will forget Flipkart, people will forget about Twitter, but only focus on Facebook and say, like, for instance, like what you say, like Facebook and Amazon. Okay, in such a way they can compete. In such a way it is good for Airtel because people won't use WhatsApp, because people will start using Facebook Messenger, and in Facebook Messenger you can't make a voice calls or video calls. Maybe it will be forbidden. So now people will be start making calls through Airtel properly. Okay, so this is what the objective behind it. Now coming to the another concept of free basics. Okay, free basics is a concept which was initiated by the Facebook, and it said like we give a set of Reliance along with what you call Facebook. They said we will give you access to certain some 20 30 odd websites free of cost. Okay, so they said like, okay, it is called as internet.org, and it was again having given free access to 38 websites. The reasoning behind them, it gave in the sense we want to digitalize India. We want to give the market, we want to make the reach of internet to the poor people. Okay, so that is what the reason gave. Okay, but the problem is that because of which the level playing field was affected. Now let us see the pros and cons of this telecom policy with respect to net neutrality. What is about the pros? Okay, first it's about equality. Everyone has the equal data access. The same way, the same speed you can access Flipkart will be the same way, the same thing you can access to the Amazon also. Next is the level playing field. Okay, even a newbie. Okay, so if someone can't, if Amazon and Flipkart has a tie-up with bigger companies, it is very difficult to form the smaller startups to do that. But if there is net neutrality, if everything is equal, the new startups will be benefited by this thing. All right. Now, next is about the exception to critical services. Okay, for some services related to health or agriculture or something like that, it has been given. For those services, you can give some priority. Meaning what? For those access to services, you can have a lesser cost or even a free cost. That won't be form of a net neutrality. Okay, and lastly about the reasonable traffic management practices, kind of an autonomy given to the internet service providers. So the government is not taking everything away from the net neutrality from the, from the internet service providers. It is giving some sort of an independency. Now coming to the cons. What is the cons? First is about the revenue. So the major part, okay, the major revenue, as I already said, it is through the value addition services, especially through the data. This is being affected the most for the internet service providers. Next is about the digital outreach. Already country we are speaking about digital India, but we don't have a proper digital outreach. All right. Okay. So even the BharatNet project or the common service centers like we are ought to have, it is not yet been formalized. Okay. Now with that in mind, giving a kind of free things through this, it can be good thing. Like, okay, for digital outreach, net neutrality is a kind of a problem. Lastly, about the regulation of websites. Okay, so now and then, like, Supreme Court comes up with a kind of a regulation. They want to ban the porn websites. They want to kind of control the terrorist related activities. They want to control the social media also. Even the government is also taking some steps also. Okay, in that sort of a thing, this regulation of websites become a problem. Okay, because it is leading to kind of an leaving to the ISPs, right? So this sort of a regulation problem will come. So these are the pros and cons which you got to keep in mind. Okay, if you wanted, like, you can add all those pros and cons because it is a kind of a developing topic. Okay, so please have this in mind. You can expect this one in the mains actually. Next is about the 377. So we already had a discussion on section 377 of IPC, this Indian Penal Code. Okay, but I'm not going into the aspects which are already discussed, but I want to give you about the legality. What exactly the problem right now is it? Okay, so this is a kind of a timeline. This is a kind of a legal timeline actually. So it all started in 2017. It all started in 2011. When this NAS Foundation, it filed a public interest litigation. So you keep this in mind. It is a PIAL. Okay, it is a public interest litigation before the Delhi High Court, which challenged the constitutional validity of 377 of IPC. Okay, now what are the grounds it challenged? This you got to know. Okay, this is about Article 14 about the equality, Article 19A to D about the right to freedom of speech, expression, assembly, association, and the grounds of Article 15. Article 15 says the state shall not discriminate on the grounds of race, religion, caste, sex, and place of birth. Okay, so this is a kind of an discrimination based on the sex actually. Next, lastly about the Article 21. Article 21 is about right to life and personal liberty. Now, after this case was filed in 2001, in 2004, what the Delhi High Court dismisses it. Okay, it dismisses it. It's saying that it is a purely academic issue and it is not a kind of a writ matter that has to be discussed in the High Court. Now, in the same year in 2014, it made a review petition. So all you people, you have to know the difference between a review and an appeal. An appeal is something which goes from a lower court to the higher court. Okay, but as far as review is concerned, review is done in the same court. If it is a high court, it is done high court. If it is Supreme Court, only the Supreme Court. So that is a review judgment. Okay. Now, post the rejection, post the dismissal in review petition also, they went to, NAS Foundation again went to Supreme Court. And now Supreme Court said like, okay, please consider. Then Supreme Court directed the High Court to consider this thing on fresh consideration on merits. Okay, don't think about the academic issues, consider on merits. Now, in 2009, this was the very landmark judgment. You got to know about the NAS Foundation case. Please, guys, this you got to keep in mind. Okay, so like you have Keshavananda Bharati, like you have Golaknath case, and this is another case which you got to keep in mind, because of late, like UPSC has been asking questions based on the cases. Actually, this last year it was Puttaswamy, last year they asked about Iyer Kohala case. Okay, so they used to have the habit of asking this thing. So please remember this NAS Foundation case. And in this NAS Foundation, they said like they decriminalized consensual same-sex relations, which you already know about LGBT. That is, they said like section 377 of IPC is unconstitutional. Okay, so what is exactly the words used? It grossly violates the right of homosexual individuals to privacy and liberty embodied in Article 21. So they made a kind of little reference to the privacy and the liberty as well. Okay, now next coming to that, like they gave us specific things. Okay, because this also you can add it. Like whenever they ask questions about like why section 377 is unconstitutional, definitely you got to say about these three articles: Article 14, Article 15 and Article 21. What is Article 14? Article 14 about equality, Article 15 about prohibition on discrimination on the grounds of race, religion, caste, sex and place of birth, and Article 21 is about right to life and personal liberty. So these three things you got to make a mention. And lastly, they said, okay, there is section 377 is disproportionately affecting their sexual orientation, as well as it is contrary or counter to the constitutional values. What are the constitutional values they're speaking? They're speaking about the human dignity, they are speaking about the liberty, they're speaking about the equality. See, all those relevant things which are human rights related aspects in the preamble also. Okay, please, you got to speak about that also. And that is a point, because these are the cornerstone of our constitution. So you can use these words in the mains actual. Then once like this 2009 judgment was there, like LGBT community was so happy, but it was like once within 4 years, the person called Suresh Kumar and then so many other religious affiliated individuals, they went to the court, Supreme Court, and then they said they made an appeal. Okay, in that appeal they said like again 377 is constitutional. There is nothing like it affects the equality or the there is any discrimination as such mentioned in the High Court. What exactly they said, like, okay, this regulation of sexual conduct is regardless of gender identity and orientation. What is it meaning? See, the High Court judgment, they said on the basis of Article 15, it is not discrimination on the basis of sex. But here they said, no. This applies not just for LGBT. It applies for any sort of natural, unnatural offenses, unnatural sex. Okay. So that is the reason they said, irrespective of that gender identity and orientation, it is an offense. Then why do you say it is affecting Article 15? Okay. Now, coming to last, like, okay, this is the most controversial thing. The Apex Court made a statement. Okay. This LGBT forms a minuscule fraction of the country's population, which constituting these transgenders and this LGBT. And why should we be bothered about them? And because of this word, this is the word like which made us so much of a controversy. And this was again what happened. This is the one like mentioned by Justice Chandrachud in, especially in this recent Puttaswamy's case. Okay. Now being sexual orientation is made part of essential component of identity as per the Puttaswamy case. And in addition to that, we have the Nalsa case in 2014, which said transgenders form the third sex. And in addition to the recent Harrier case where they said like you have the right to choose your partner. Based on these cases, now again the Supreme Court has taken. Okay, now all those timeline is fine. Now again, what is the contention? Now why people are opposing 377 technically? I'm not saying about cultural aspect. I'm not speaking about the social aspect. I'm speaking about the constitutional legal aspect. So what is exactly the problem? See the contention, the people who are opposing this saying that already It was rejected in 2004. It was again rejected in 2013. A review was done in 2013. But in spite of all those things, why you want to accept a curative petition? Okay. So you got to keep in mind about the curative petition. Please, what is it? Curative petition. Okay, what is this curative petition? When all sort of remedies is exhausted or exhausted. For instance, there is no review, there is no kind of an appeal, then Supreme Court, again, review is exhausted. The only thing available is called as a curative petition normally. Now, the curative petition was filed actually, but it was kept in for a long time in the works. But the question here is that when the curative petition is pending, why does the Constitution Bench accepted an petition under Article 32? You must know about Article 32. Article 32 speaks about the right to constitutional remedies. If your fundamental right is affected, you can approach the High Court or the Supreme Court directly. Now the remedy is available in the form of writs. Now, with respect to 32, there is a judgment which says that there is a Rupa Ashakhura judgment which says that if your remedy is already exhausted, if there is a final judgment after a review, now no one can't file a case under 32. Meaning what? Curative petition is accepted, but not an article under 32. So you got to know the curative petitions when it is done. Curative petitions can be raised on two occasions. One is when the decision is made without hearing the other party, and where there is a judicial bias. So when there is an error, a kind of blatant error on the part of judiciary, only then this can be taken by the court normally. Okay. So here the contention is that curative. Why? When the curative is pending, why Article 32? So this is the point which is discussed actually. And the point of contention here, you got to keep in mind in the sense, three things: right to sexuality, right to sexual autonomy, and right to choice of sexual partners. So these are the three key points which you got to remember for writing in the mains. Now, the court, what now the court says? The court says that, okay, fine, you said already the curative petition is pending. Now, Article 32, okay, whatever it is wrong or right, but right now we are taking this decision. We are taking this petition because it was pending for almost 2 years. Why they have again taken right now in 2018 in the sense because of the subsequent development. What here the subsequent development means? It is the case of Puttaswamy. So post Puttaswamy's case, there was an observation that the Supreme Court made an error with respect to LGBT community in the Suresh Kaushal case. Okay, and they say in fresh light of whatever made in Article 21 with respect to privacy judgment in 2017. So this has to be kept in mind. All right. So because of the judgment in right to privacy in Puttaswamy, this has been taken into account. Okay, and that is the reason why the Constitution Bench led by Justice Mishra, it has reviewed, it has taken into consideration the already pending petition. Okay, so that's it for the day. If you have any doubts, please put on your comments in the below, and look out for the PDFs also. Okay, thank you so much.